name is Vera Baier, and I work for FAF Coffees. We're a Brazilian exporting company that has a few sourcing regions across Brazil, but we also have a coffee farm, which is a small part, but an important part of our business. And I will tell you a bit of the coffee production today. I will tell you about sustainability in coffee production and explain a bit the whole situation in Brazil. So this picture is probably what you are more knowing about Brazil. This is the common Brazilian agriculture and how people abroad, I guess, imagine it and look at it. It's large-scale agriculture. It's huge monocultural fields that are mechanized, and the productivity is insane. So Brazil, of course, is the highest producing country for coffee. But today, I want to dive in a little bit with you into another reality, a less known reality, which is the reality that we at FAF Coffee, we are working in. So we work in a reality that is less monoculture, that are farms in transition, that are farms that try to work differently, that try to go away from the conventional agricultural practices. And on the one side, we have the sustainability part, and on the other side, we also have farms that are not at all large scale. There are small producers in Brazil, which are extremely small, from less than 1 hectare to just a few hectares, and they coexist with farms around 1,000 hectares, and it's a very hard challenge to do that in Brazil. So that's the main focus of what we do at FAF. We try to work with these partners. We try to partner up with the smallholders. And to give you a quick overview, we have 5 different sourcing regions. So all of our regions, they have very different characteristics. They are so different in terms of climate, microclimate, in terms of topography, landscape. So we actually could say that we work in 5 different countries, because it is as different as if you would go from Colombia to El Salvador, to Ethiopia, to Kenya. So a lot of different realities coming in, and we're having to deal with them. And this is just a map to make you understand where we are working and acting. We're in the southeast of Brazil, and we have 3 regions that are very close together, which are the Alta Mogiana, and Sul de Minas region, and we have 2 more that have a geographic, further distant in Caparaó and Espírito Santo. And I think what is known more is the farms in Mogiana and Alta Mogiana, where people are having larger productions, and this is also where the highest quantity are coming from. In Espírito Santo and Caparaó, we find smaller farms, we find more family agriculture or medium-sized farms, and we have a lot of partners there that come together and also have quite some volume if we put them all together. I think today is a very nice opportunity to talk a little bit about what is coffee excellence and what we can consider an excellent cup of coffee. And for FAF coffees, the usual perspective on an excellent cup of coffee is probably maybe not the perfect one that we have today, and we would like to see this changing. I know that that's already started to change, and we already have a different perspective on really good quality coffee, but I think there is still some work to do. And what we say is that the quality is not only depending on a score in your cup, it's not only a number in a sensory score, it's also depending on the practices and the actions that are in this cup. So if I take a conventional coffee production, what enters in your cup is not only a high quality score, maybe, which is the taste that could be still good, but then you have destruction of soil, the depletion of biodiversity, you have a lot of agrochemicals and toxic inputs in your cup. And this is what we really would like to see changing every day a bit more. We would like to see a high quality cup with, of course, the sensory score. That shouldn't change at all. We have a strong focus on coffee quality with FAF coffees, but we see that especially in Brazil, in the reality that we're working, we want to focus on working with nature, on contributing to the conservation of biodiversity, trying to reduce harmful practices that are very used in Brazil and also in other coffee growing countries. And that's for us an excellent cup of coffee. So in our field actions, what we first do in the coffee production that we have ourselves, and what we also try to give to our partner producers and work together with them to improve every day the way coffee is produced. We're thinking that, of course, we acknowledge the technical part of the human impact in agriculture. We acknowledge that there's a lot of intelligence behind highly technified systems, but in my point of view, there's a clear line in between the agricultural part on the one side, where we have a negative impact, and then on the other side, we have, for example, a natural reserve or an area that we don't try to touch, and where we try to help nature grow and persist. And the ideal case for us would be that we integrate the two, and we do not cut out coffee production from nature conservation, but we try to work with nature in our coffee production. So our concept is called the future farming system, and I will explain a bit better what's the theory behind it, what's the concept. So we believe that today probably neutralizing harmful and negative impact isn't enough anymore to be sustainable in a long term. I think sustainable in a long term today is going with restoration and is going beyond neutralization. So we're working with regenerative sustainability, which in agriculture means that we don't only protect soil, we enhance soil and general biodiversity in the field, soil health. We ensure clean water, and that goes along with reducing pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. So all the negative impact that destruct biodiversity, that deplete soils, and that contribute to the pollution of water, we really try to go that this goes away from the common agricultural practices, and while sequestering carbon, of course, and making sure that there is still a productivity and quality in the field. So just to get into this topic a little bit deeper, there are a lot of different coffee agroecosystems all over the world, and there are some that contribute more, and there are some that contribute less to the conservation of nature. And here in this table, I just want to show a little bit of my perspective on this. So I have a master's in environmental science, and I did my thesis on coffee agroforestry. So I was comparing a lot of different coffee systems all across the coffee producing countries, and what I found is that you are not necessarily the most sustainable coffee production when you are doing agroforestry. There are people who are working with agroforestry still using herbicides, You're not the most sustainable person when you're doing organic, when you have just a monoculture and you don't contribute to diversity in your field. So, of course, the colors that I put here, that's not the ultimate reality, and that's not the ultimate truth, but I think it's an orientation that I want to show that it really depends on the situation and on the context of what you can do, how you can contribute to nature conservation, and what is actually happening in the fields. And for Brazil, much more than for a lot of other countries that produce coffee, conventional monocultures is the very common case, because the bigger producers, they are mechanized, so they would never think about planting something that later on disturbs in their field. So trees are not really an option for them, which is a very different reality in some countries in Central America. And yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge that we have, to make the producers, the small ones and the big ones, understand that nature is actually something that you can have in your coffee production, and it maybe can help you to produce even better or even more coffee. And this picture is a proof of that. This is one of our organic coffee fields at the FAF Coffee's farm. And in this field, we have the highest diversity and density of plants from our whole farm. And I think that's a perfect example to show how we could work with nature. And I think the baseline is starting with having your soil protected from sunlight, from impact, from drying out, from losing nutrients and water very fast. So when we work together with partner farms and we see that they have bare ground all over the coffee fields, that's the first thing that we say. Yeah, why don't you cover your soil? I think that would be a great idea. And there are a lot of practices how you can do that. But that's that's also what we see when we get visitors from the United States, from Europe. When they come to us and they see the soil, they already have the understanding that if they step on soil that is hard as a rock, that this is probably not the best practice that you would want in your field. And the next step after the soil that we want to cover always is the integration of plants, and preferably trees, into your coffee system. So it's depending on the situation, on the topography, of course, if you should try to plant a lot of trees or not so many, or maybe you don't necessarily have to only plant trees. You can plant other species that could contribute in your system. But of course, for erosion control, for the creation of shade, and for the adaptation by the shade to the microclimate, which is getting more and more extreme every day, especially in a lot of areas in Brazil. Trees are one recommendation that we always have for our partners, and we think that agroforestry is one important way to go for coffee, and that it could be a future system to be used, not only for having shade or for securing your soil, but also when we start understanding who are the species that we could plant and what they do to contribute to our coffee production. We understand that there's actually a lot of benefits that we get out of that. For example, I put here the phrase, the work with nature as a natural pest control. It's because we are working with a lot of species in our fields that are attracting insects or other species that would be a natural enemy of common coffee pests. So by planting a tree species that attracts a certain insect, we're controlling a coffee pest. So just the fact that I plant a tree helps me already getting a higher productivity. So yeah, going away from our farm and going towards to our partner farmers, we have a strong network of partner farms across our 5 regions. And this is just a demonstration of our main partner farms in each region. So we always try to create long-term relationships with everybody that we work with. So we say that we're not buying coffee, we're selling coffee. And we always want not the cheapest coffee. We want the farmer to understand that we are there and we don't want to buy 1 year and the next year not. So working like this has a big challenge because the other side of the market, which is in Europe, in the United States, in Asia, we need to find the clients there in order to bring the coffee of our partners to them and to have this consistency year by year. I think is one of our biggest challenges. But I can say that we have done, I think, a good work. So, for example, in the corner here, it's Schwauer Milton, which is one of our longest partners, and together with him, we could really we could change a community which is very close by the FAF farm, and we have a strong relationship for over 15 years with them, buying coffee every year from them, and that's, I think, the most successful case that we have to show. And in our other region, it's some are starting, some are already on a good way, but we see that we find very we find partners in each region that are that have the same interest, that have the same understanding of agricultural practices, and that we're very happy to partner up and work together with them for a better coffee production. And these are 4 areas that we're acting, talking about coffee production and field practices. So water, soil, climate, and biodiversity are our 4 focus areas that we try to make sure that what we do is conserving this and contributing to a positive impact in all of the areas. What we are planning to have in the future, and I would be very happy to discuss this a bit more with anybody who has a comment on it, is that we're not only like talking to our partners and say, hey, why don't you want to plant some trees, or why don't you try to add more organic inputs instead of conventional? So usually what they say is like, yeah, it's super hard to do that. I don't know why and how I could go that way. What am I getting out of it in the end? So my question is it the farmer who has to be the responsibility and who has to be the, all the action needed in order to try to do some less harmful environmental practices, or could we all along the coffee supply chain to the end consumer, could we all be part of it and help him do this job? So we are creating something. This is still in a very early stage and in development, that is called the high nature value, to give a monetary extra for environmental practices. So to do this, in our head, it could be a system where we give scores for the way how farmers are working. So we could start with the score 0, which is degenerating nature and doing everything as conventional agriculture has used to do so far. So we call this asleep. Or somebody could be awake and already start to reduce the negative impact, or even more aware and start really respecting nature and do even more than in score 1. And then score 3 could be the optimal case of working with nature, understanding how to do it and have a sustainable coffee production that is regenerating the environment. So apart from trying to measure our impact and trying to monitor that what we do is really having the outcome that we're thinking that it should have, we also try to implement the most that we can in our partner farms, and we try to support and walk side by side with them in quality improvement, in environmental issues. So I just want to present to you a few projects that we're having right now. And the most important project in Espírito Santo and Caparaó region, where we have all our smallholder farmers. Most of them are there, and they are the smallest one with the most difficult living conditions. And there, 3 years ago, we started a project called Lado a Lado, which means side by side. And this project is there to support them in the quality terms of their coffee. So usually what we see in small farmers, they don't have the infrastructure in their farms for a proper drying. So it's hard to get the quality higher than they could have. But the coffee has a lot of potential, what we saw. And that's why we created a mobile lab, which is a small van that is equipped to come to the farm to get together the communities of our partner farmers, and then we park the van there. They bring all the samples, they bring all their coffee, and then we start roasting them, and then we do a cupping together with the farmers. And usually this is a really nice moment because they are always super happy to participate in this. And for them, it's very interesting because most of the people that we work with, they don't have a specific training in cupping and in understanding the quality of their coffees. So usually they come out of these events when we come to their place, having an understanding of what they produced this year and how is the quality of their coffee, and that's something super interesting for them. And we're having another project that is now not focusing anymore on quality, but more, actually it is quality, but quality in the field. In Brazil, we're facing a very difficult reality in terms of inputs and products that people use in their farms. So we are usually talking to farmers and they tell us, yeah, I use that and that and that product because when I go to the town, that's the product that I can buy, that's the one that is available, and I don't know so much what else could I use or how to get a harmless product or how to get a better product environmentally speaking. And that's usually also in connection that they don't even know what would be a better product to use. So people are very stuck in conventional practices and using conventional products, synthetic fertilizer and herbicides to spray into their field. And we want this to change. We want first the farmer not to be exposed so much to the risk of these products. And second, also we want to try to eliminate this a bit from the Brazilian landscape because it's very common. And there are alternatives, and one I would like to present you here. It's our Baieer factory. So with this Baieer factory project, we're investing in a future that is based on life, which means that it's an investment into biodiversity on a very, very micro scale. A Baieer factory is a factory where you produce microorganisms. And with these microorganisms, I'm talking right now about bacteria and fungi. With these bacteria and fungi, we are able to create alternative solutions for pest control, for disease control on our coffee plants, but also we are able to create a more resilient environment for the plant to have bacteria or fungi that contribute to root production or that contribute to the resistance in general of the coffee plant. And with this technology, we would be able to, first of all, to exchange the commonly used synthetic products and toxic products and have a total organic solution for the problems that they're usually using these products. And also we're able to produce them on farm. So this technology that we're developing, it's together with some researchers in Brazil, and it's an on-farm technology to produce bacteria and fungi at our farm, and then being able to spray this in our fields with the full control of what we're producing and of what we're using. And that's going to be, I think, a big step forward when we are trying to bring this also to our partner farms. And for them to start using this, this would first of all mean that we have less impact in the health of them. It will be economically more beneficial for them because these products are very expensive on the market and the prices are just rising every year. And of course, we contribute to healthier soils, healthier ecosystems. So yeah, that's right now one of our most important environmental projects that we're working on. And that's already also the end of my speech. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope it was interesting to hear a bit from the field reality in Brazil. Thank you.
Ja, Vera, vielen, vielen Dank. Wenn wir die Vera schon da haben, würde ich euch gerne einladen, vielleicht auch ein paar Fragen zu stellen. Also ich hätte einige, deswegen denke ich mir, dass es vielleicht auch jemand anders hat. Dann würde ich zu euch kommen mit dem Mikrofon. Gibt es von eurer Seite Fragen zu irgendwelchen Themen? Also was mich speziell interessieren würde, am Tag werden 2 Milliarden Tassen Kaffee getrunken auf der Welt. Das ist eine Summe, die ist unvorstellbar und kann auch, nehme ich mal an, ich weiß es nicht, von kleinen nachhaltigen Kaffeeplantagen wahrscheinlich so nicht bedient werden. Wie werdet ihr in einem Land wie Brasilien wahrgenommen? Wie sieht man euch? Ihr habt ein wahnsinnig großes Know-how. Fragen Sie euch, wie man es besser machen kann oder wie schaut das genau aus?
Also tatsächlich, die großen Produzenten in Brasilien, die müssen uns gar nicht mehr fragen, wie man es besser machen kann, weil die wissen es schon. Die großen Produzenten, die können sich jegliche Beratungen und Unterstützung leisten. Die können Risiko eingehen und verschiedene Technologien ausprobieren, verschiedene Arten von Systemen ausprobieren auf ihrer Farm und sind dadurch nicht gefährdet. Und viele sind schon also auf dem Weg, auch in nachhaltigere Systeme. Und deswegen glaube ich, ja, es ist in der Hinsicht ein guter Weg eingeschlagen schon in Brasilien, weil auch die Nachfrage vom Markt da ist. Also die Großen, die verstehen schon, dass sie eine Nachfrage haben in Richtung nachhaltiger Kaffee, biologischer Kaffee und die reagieren darauf. Also ich sehe die größere Herausforderung mit den kleineren Bauern, die einfach die Ressourcen nicht haben, die Infrastruktur oft nicht haben und die sich sowas nicht alleine ausdenken können. Und genau mit denen versuchen wir den Weg zu gehen und die auf die gleiche Stufe zu stellen wie die Großen, damit die Kleinen nicht hinten wegfallen und nur die Großen ja, den Kaffee verkaufen können.
Also mir hat ja ganz besonders gut gefallen deine Geschichte, als du mit den Kaffeebauern vor Ort die Verkostungen gemacht hast. Ich kenne diese Geschichte auch von den Schokoladenproduzenten, die oftmals gar nicht wissen, was man mit den Kakaobohnen alles machen kann. Wie machen die Leute vor Ort ihren Kaffee?
Ja, leider ist in Brasilien der Kaffee generell sehr, sehr schlechte Qualität, weil der gute wird exportiert und der Rest bleibt im Land. Der wird dann vermischt mit Mais, Blättern von den Bäumen und den Kaffeepflanzen und mit allen möglichen Sachen und gemahlen und den gibt es dann im Supermarkt zu kaufen und das ist was sehr, sehr viele Produzenten, mit denen wir zusammenarbeiten, die noch nicht ganz nur Spezialitätenkaffee, die noch nicht so ganz im Thema sind, die trinken dann eher das mit ganz viel Zucker.
Ich habe schon ein paar Kaffeeproduzenten auch bei uns schon im Publikum gesehen, aber ich nehme an, du belieferst oder ihr beliefert auch österreichische Röster, oder?
Genau, wir beliefern auch österreichische Röster. Ich glaube gar nicht mal so viele. Ja, wie gesagt, wir sind eine kleine Firma. Wir exportieren jetzt keine Massentonnen an Kaffee, weil eben unser System etwas komplizierter ist, weil wir mit keinen Riesen zusammenarbeiten, die uns direkt mal 10 Container zur Verfügung stellen, sondern weil wir diese Container aus ganz vielen kleineren Farms zusammenstellen und die Arbeit dahinter, die ist groß und genau deswegen ja, sind wir noch relativ klein. Einfach eine E-Mail schreiben.
Vielen, vielen Dank. Von eurer Seite noch Fragen? Ansonsten würde ich mich bei dir bedanken, liebe Vera. Ich wünsche dir alles Gute, weiterhin viel Erfolg und ja, vielen, vielen Dank.